This way I know who's just coming new, because I can see who's singing and who's not. You won't know this one if you're new. It's very simple. Gopi Janna Balapa Girivardhari Gopi Janna Balapa Girivardhari Gopi Janna Balapa Girivardhari Gopi Janna Balapa Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki, Shri Nitai ki, Shri Bahulashtami Mahotsav ki, Shri Radhakund ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. Maybe we can move this. Can you sit closer? I don't know if this can be moved to. It doesn't need to be in this room, probably. Round the back. Behind. Around the back. And bring a cushion. Make sure you have a cushion. Thank you. So I see some of you appear to have Indian origins. How many of you have Indian origins, so to speak? Hands up. A few. How many have Portuguese origins? 2, 3, 4, 5. How many have Brazilian origins? Only 1. The rest of you have no origin at all.
Russia, whiskey.
Huh? Ukraine. Ask. Ukraine. They don't speak Portuguese anyway.
They speak Russian.
Ukraine. Hands up, Ukraine. Ukraine. Oh, a small group from Ukraine. Nepal. Have a from Nepal. There's a little group from Nepal. And maybe you put your hand up. Where are you from?
India.
Oh, you're Indian. Indian.
Moldova.
Moldova. Who's from Moldova? Where'd that Moldova came from? There it is, Moldova. And where else have we got here?
Poland.
Bangladesh.
Where's, Bangladesh. Who's from Bangladesh? There's a couple of Bangladeshers. And where else? Huh?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, far out. We're from?
Poland.
Poland. Poland. And where else? We're from?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, just see. Everything's covered, he's from everywhere. I thought you were. I'm from nowhere.
Yeah.
Where else are you from? Where are you from? You India?
Me?
Yeah.
Nepal.
Huh?
Nepal.
Oh, that's right, you put your hand up.
Yeah,
Did you?
I did.
Oh, did you? You were hiding, I didn't see you. And yourself, where are you from? Russia? Anyone else from Russia? Russia, Ukraine, Moldova, Kazakhstan. We're from?
Israel now.
Israel. Wow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Angola.
Angola, of course. Marie from Angola. Anyone else from anywhere else? Or you just don't know where you're from?
Yes.
And where are you from? Crazier. Croatia. Croatia. Oh, you'll never guess where I'm from. I'm not really from there, but this body was made there. Where was it made? Can't guess, can you?
England.
Who said that? Who said that? Huh? Well, you know, that's cheating.
Because the way you speak, I guess you're from England. So
Most people in England think I'm not from England.
No?
Yeah. I think I'm maybe mixture Irish, American, English, Australian, mixed. A bit of this and a bit of that. I'm like Theodore. Oh, Nouvelle Mayapur, oui, oui. Oui, oui, monsieur, c'est bien. He knows he's from everywhere. See, I'm one of his team. I'm here, there, and everywhere. Where are we from? Well, the whole idea, in one sense, of the Krishna consciousness movement is to find out where we're really from, I suppose you could say. Come on, you're very quiet. What's wrong with you? You're not saying anything. You're silent.
No, I forgot.
Just say the last sentence.
De onde é que somos? É o objetivo final. É
Ok.
onde é que nós somos.
Ok, o objetivo da
Okay.
consciência de Krishna.
You sit there, you'll translate. Come on, you'll get into it in a minute. Fire away, come on.
Ok. Ok, o objetivo da consciência de Krishna é sabermos de onde nós somos.
Good. Well, the purpose of this movement is, yes, to find out where we're from, but also to know how we can realize where we're from. Huh?
O objetivo é saber de onde somos, mas sim realizar também de nos realizarmos.
Realize.
Realize.
How you can realize it. It's one thing to have knowledge, it's another thing to be able to, let's say, utilize that knowledge or take advantage of that knowledge.
Uma coisa é ter esse conhecimento, outra coisa é realizar esse conhecimento.
Fulfill the purpose of the knowledge.
É realizar o propósito desse.
Just like if you know how to cook. Many of you, I'm sure, cook. Master Saki, you cook?
At home.
At home, not in the restaurant?
No, sure.
No? But you know how to cook. But just knowing the recipes, that's fine. But they're not much use unless you put them into practice. Huh?
Como cozinhar, conhecer as receitas não é suficiente, temos de meter em prática.
Knowledge is meant to be utilized.
So, o conhecimento serve para ser utilizado.
Unfortunately, most people don't have spiritual knowledge.
Infelizmente, a maioria das pessoas não tem conhecimento espiritual.
Like in the world today, some of you are from Ukraine, some from Israel, some from Bangladesh, some here and there.
No mundo hoje em dia, uns são da Ucrânia, de Israel.
And you may be witnessing or witnessed the results of not having this spiritual knowledge.
E muitos não têm conhecimento espiritual.
Because we identify ourselves with a particular place,
Nos identificamos com sítio em
a
particular,
particular culture,
uma cultura em particular.
maybe some kind of religious sect or something.
Talvez até com uma religião.
And we may discriminate against others who have a different identity. Eh?
Podemos até discriminar outros que têm uma identidade diferente.
Maybe in politics or in anything. It could be any subject. There is this tendency to discriminate.
Pode ser na política, pode ser em qualquer
My religion, my country, my race,
a minha religião, o meu país, a minha raça,
my generation, my gender,
a minha geração, o meu género,
my behavior, my whatever I'm into, whatever it is.
o meu comportamento, aquilo em que eu estou focado.
And inevitably, without spiritual knowledge, this results in misunderstanding.
Sem conhecimento espiritual, isto vai tudo acabar no mal entendido.
And you could say the cutting edge or the critical edge, we see wars or violence taking place.
Hoje em dia vemos guerras a tomar lugar.
People are basically guided by ignorance and passion at most.
As pessoas são guiadas pela ignorância e pela paixão, mais do que tudo.
The real solution to all of our problems in this world is the simple process of realizing our spiritual identity. I don't know what happened to the water, the this, the that. So many.
Behind you on the left side.
What am I supposed to do?
On the left.
What?
On the left, this is the left. Oh my goodness, everything's collapsing. Here it comes. Great arrangement. Have you got some bed bugs or something? Bites? We'll do some work on it. Itchy. Keep it nearby if we can. It's a very, it sounds very simple, but there's a science. It's not even enough just to say, oh, we're all equal.
Parece bastante simples, mas não é suficiente dizer, oh, somos todos iguais.
Yes, spiritually we're equal, but materially there are differences, right?
Sim, espiritualmente podemos ser, mas materialmente há diferenças.
And theory alone is not enough.
Teoria não é o suficiente.
It would be nice to be able to realize every living entity, no matter who they are all equal spiritually. Huh?
Sim, era bom se pudermos realizar todas as entidades.
Then we can have really united nations.
E assim poderíamos ter as verdadeiras nações.
Otherwise we see there's no real unity in the United Nations.
Podemos ver que não há verdadeira união nas Unidas.
200 flags,
Nas Nações Unidas.
differences of opinion,
Diferentes opiniões.
etc. are there. Because we're differently conditioned, we're differently covered by the material energy.
Somos condicionados de maneiras diferentes pela energia material.
We have different desires,
Temos desejos diferentes,
different tendencies,
tendências diferentes,
so many things
muitas coisas.
different in our constitution in the material world.
Diferentes constituições no mundo material.
So the process of Krishna consciousness is one of realization. It's not just a religion to establish a particular kind of thinking. It is a realization or a process whereby we realize our absolute natures.
O processo de consciência de Krishna é, acima de tudo, realizarmos.
Yeah, very good. Well done. Well done. Even many of you have. Can you bring, Rita, a Bhagavad Gita for me, please? A Bhagavad Gita?
English?
Oh, you're definitely Portuguese. I read fluent Portuguese.
That's all.
I read it with my eyes closed. Russian's even better. He's from Slovakia, if you didn't know where he's from. He's a Slovakian, born and bred. It's somewhere coming. There it is. One English Bhagavad Gita is manifested. And I assume that all of you do have a copy in one language or another of the Bhagavad Gita.
Eu presumo que todos vocês tenham uma cópia do Bhagavad Gita independentemente da língua.
If you don't have a copy,
Se não tem uma cópia,
Rita is at the back there. She'll be very happy to serve you
a Rita está
a
dentro.
Pode Gita
Pode-vos servir como
in the language of your choice,
a língua que vocês escolherem.
as long as you only choose English and Portuguese.
Escolhem inglês ou
You have Russian too, right? What other language? Spanish?
Spanish also.
French, yes, we have French, Spanish, Russian, English, Portuguese, German. You have a book here in German, Bhagavad Gita? Maybe, maybe not.
One German, okay. One
Maybe a German one there. Well, I did bring one Nepali Gita yesterday, but that disappeared almost before it got here. A few minutes after, somebody took it away. Eager. So if you don't have it here, we can always get you one. But that's about 6 languages available.
À volta de 6 línguas disponíveis.
And that's what the Bhagavad Gita is. One of the reasons. 5 reasons, huh? Bhagavad Gita. 5 lessons.
5 lições do Bhagavad Gita.
Let's say 5 subject matters
5
to understand. One is the soul, us, the person. Who are you?
É a alma, a pessoa, quem nós somos.
Most people think I'm the body or the mind.
A maior parte das pessoas que pensa que
The
nós
Bhagavad
somos
Gita
o corpo
teaches
ou a
us
mente.
beyond the mental platform, beyond the intellectual platform.
O Bhagavad Gita ensina para além da plataforma intelectual.
It also gives an indication of the nature of a realized soul.
E também dá uma indicação da natureza de uma alma realizada.
And it gives understanding of the absolute truth,
E dá a compreensão da verdade absoluta,
the eternal truth.
da verdade eterna.
Not just of our own truth, but of the absolute truth, that which is, let's say, beyond our perception.
Não da nossa verdade, mas da verdade absoluta que é para além da nossa compreensão.
The origin of everything.
A origem de tudo.
You could say in simplistic language in this world, in religious terminology, we would address that unseen, unknown origin as God.
Na linguagem simples deste mundo, algo que não podemos realizar é simplesmente Deus.
The supreme personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, is also described and spoken by and described by Bhagavan.
É falado e descrito por Bhagavan.
We also find in the Bhagavad Gita a description of the different energies of God.
Vemos uma descrição das diferentes energias de Deus.
God has Parasha Shaktir Vivadaya Shruyate, unending, unlimited energies, but they're basically categorized as three.
Tem energias ilimitadas, mas são categorizadas como três.
We have our Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. Pardon? Internal energy, that means the spiritual energy.
Energia interna, energia
External energy, that means the material energy, which we are experiencing now.
energia externa, a energia material que estamos a experienciar.
And then there is he or that which is experiencing either the internal or the external energy.
E o que
That's
está,
called tatashta, it means in between.
o que está a experienciar a energia material e espiritual.
You go to the beach, you have lots of beaches in Portugal.
Ou a praia, temos muitas praias.
What's that famous bathing beach called? Navarre?
Nazaré?
Navarre?
Nazaré.
That's where you go for swimming, isn't it? Navarre? If you can't swim, it's a very good place to go. You won't have to worry any more about going swimming. I've heard all about it. It's a very dangerous beach, huh?
Yes, you could say.
Well, one thing is, in relationship to that, if you're anybody here a fish, any fishes here?
Há alguém aqui que seja peixe?
No fishes?
Algum peixe?
Maybe in a previous life. Huh?
Talvez na vida anterior.
If you're a fish,
Se fores
the
peixe,
great ocean is very nice, huh?
o oceano é fantástico.
Very nice. The fish feels very comfortable in the ocean.
O peixe sente-se muito confortável no oceano.
It belongs in the ocean.
Pertence no oceano.
Different fish, different parts, but basically fish belong in the ocean. Even if there are waves, the fishes are basically enjoying it.
Há diferentes tipos de peixe, mas
Hard to imagine.
quando há ondas, os peixes
For us,
ficam
it's-
a desfrutar.
Brings great fear. Huh? You imagine seeing a wave 30 meters high
Para nós,
coming towards you.
desperta-nos muito medo se virmos uma onda com 30 metros de altura.
For an ordinary person, it's quite scary.
E para qualquer pessoa, normalmente é muito assustador.
And maybe a fish also isn't very pleasant with a wave like that, I don't know. But in general, the fishes are happy in the ocean.
Mas em geral, os peixes são felizes no oceano.
And outside the ocean, they're not happy.
E fora desse oceano, eles não são felizes.
So we're a little like that, you know. Fish, we're like fish out of the ocean.
Nós somos como peixes fora do oceano.
In this material world, it's like being out of their natural condition.
E neste mundo material é como nós estarmos fora da nossa condição material.
The external energy, which is under Krishna's control, under God's control, it acts in such a way to make you get used to it and you feel this is normal.
A energia externa do Senhor atua de forma a que tu te sintas que estás confortável e...
We accept birth and death, disease, old age as part of life, right? It's just normal.
E aceitamos o nascimento, a morte,
Nothing you can do about
a
it.
doença como sendo normal.
Anxiety,
A ansiedade,
happiness and distress, pain and pleasure, duality.
a dualidade.
We accept it as normal, part of life.
Aceitamos como normal, parte
Wow.
da vida.
Bhagavad Gita gives us a little news that this is not normal.
A Bhagavad Gita dá-nos uma pequena notícia.
It's
Isto
not-
não é normal.
It's not at all normal for the
Não
soul.
é nada normal.
Anymore for the soul to be, the human being rather, to find itself in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean.
Como encontrar um ser humano no meio do oceano.
We certainly won't be very comfortable out there without a boat.
Certamente não ficamos muito confortáveis sem o mar.
But we're stuck like that in the material world.
Estamos assim, no mundo.
You last a little while in this body and then you're gone.
Passamos algum tempo neste corpo e,
Just like if you're dropped in the middle of the Atlantic, you'll last a little while.
como se largarem no meio do oceano.
Anything from 1 second to a few hours maybe.
Duras uns segundos ou umas horas.
Depends. But not long.
Mas não muito.
So similarly in this world, we're always changing our bodies.
Similarmente, neste mundo estamos todos a
Isn't
mudar
it?
de corpo.
How long can you keep the body the way it is now?
Por quanto tempo conseguem manter o corpo como é agora?
Do you want to know?
Querem saber?
How long?
Quanto tempo?
1 minute.
Not even that. Not even a split second.
Nem segundo sequer.
At every millisecond, your body is changing.
A cada milissegundo o teu corpo está a mudar.
Every millisecond.
A cada milissegundo.
Cells are dying and being reproduced.
Células estão a morrer e a ser reproduzidas.
What to speak of the subtle body?
Que dizer então do corpo sutil?
Your mind, or our mind, is changing constantly, right?
A mente está a mudar constantemente.
People try to control it, but it's always changing.
Tentamos controlá-lo, mas está sempre a mudar.
But the soul is said to be unchanging.
Mas a alma diz que não muda.
He's witnessing these changes.
Está a...
Witnessing.
Obrigado. Está a testemunhar esses
Didn't you take lunch?
Não tive.
Not enough lunch. Can you bring him something to eat there? He's hungry, poor boy. Give me some water, please. Thank you. Forever changing. This material energy is always changing. And we're watching the changes.
A energia material está sempre a mudar e nós estamos a testemunhar essas mudanças.
Like a witness.
Como uma testemunha.
So spiritual life is to find out who is the seer.
A vida espiritual é tentar perceber quem é o que vê isto.
As long as we're covered by material body and senses, etc., we see materially.
Enquanto somos cobertos pelo corpo material e sentidos, vemos
So what we're
material.
seeing now is material.
Portanto, o que vemos agora é material.
External energy, the phenomena which we see now is known as the material or inferior nature of the Absolute.
A manifestação que vemos agora é a energia material ou inferior.
There is another energy which can be witnessed or can be perceived.
Há outra energia que pode ser testemunhada ou vista.
But with these eyes which we have now, when we say eyes, we can refer to these eyes or these ears or the senses which we have. That spiritual, let's say, that which can be perceived spiritually is not within our grasp.
Então, com estes olhos ou com estes
Takshri Krishna Namadi Nabhavad Gwayam Indriye, that with material senses we cannot perceive the absolute or the spiritual energy.
Com estes sentidos que temos, neste momento não conseguimos perceber a
Even
energia
in
espiritual.
the Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter,
Tem no Bhagavad Gita,
which is a famous chapter, it's called the universal form of Virat Rupa.
no capítulo 11, que se chama a forma universal.
To see that form, which is the unmanifest form of, you could say, the Supreme Lord within this cosmos, to see that form one has to have special eyes.
Então, para ver a forma que é descrita neste capítulo, a forma do Senhor dentro deste universo, é preciso olhos especiais.
Krishna gave those eyes to Arjuna so he could see that universal form.
Krishna deu esses olhos a Arjuna para ele poder ver essa forma universal.
In the case of Arjuna, it's a little different. Arjuna is a self-realized soul,
No caso de Arjuna é pouco diferente, porque ela é uma alma autorrealizada.
but his vision was one of love of Krishna.
A sua visão era uma visão de amor, porque
He had no interest to see this material manifestation.
ele não tinha qualquer interesse em ver esta
And
manifestação.
Krishna gave him eyes to see the material manifestation of this cosmos, you could say, this universal form.
E Krishna deu-lhe os olhos para ver esta visão.
With us,
esta forma.
we have no qualification to see either the cosmic form or the spiritual form.
Nós não temos qualificação para ver a forma cósmica ou espiritual.
So that vision of the spiritual vision is then the real nature, or the real, let's say, the real purpose of our being able to perceive.
Então, ver a energia espiritual é a verdadeira essência dessa visão.
So the process of spiritual life, of yoga, even religiosity, is meant to gradually bring us to that point where we start to see things from a spiritual perspective.
A propósito da religião, da vida espiritual, começar a ver as coisas pelo ponto de vista espiritual.
How to do that is described at length in the Bhagavad Gita.
Como fazer isso é explicado aqui no Bhagavad Gita.
And what the final outcome of that endeavor is.
E qual é que é o resultado final desse
The aspect of time. Now, the material world, time is a very significant factor.
No mundo material, o tempo é fator muito significativo.
How many times a day do you ask what is the time?
Quantas vezes ao dia nós
How much
perguntamos qual é o
time do you
tempo?
have?
Quanto tempo tens?
Serving time,
Tempo para servir.
etc. Time is, more or less, you could say, controlling everything in this world.
Podemos dizer que o tempo controla tudo neste mundo.
It's a form of the Supreme Lord in this world,
É uma forma do Senhor Supremo neste mundo
which causes everything to have a beginning and end.
que causa tudo a ter um início e um fim.
There's another factor which is described in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the material energy we've already mentioned briefly, but it is called karma.
Há outro tópico mencionado no Bhagavad Gita que se chama karma.
And I would be surprised if anyone in this room hasn't not heard the word karma. I'm sure you've all heard that word.
Me surpreendisse se alguém nesta sala nunca ter ouvido
It's
a palavra.
pretty much a household word now,
É uma palavra comum,
even in the Western world.
até no mundo ocidental.
I don't know about Portugal, but in England, America, Australia, it's more or less a household word, karma.
Sim, na América, na Austrália,
Everywhere.
tudo.
But what it means is only understood partially, usually.
O que significa normalmente é só compreendido em parte.
When people say karma, what do they usually mean?
Quando as pessoas dizem karma, o que é que elas costumam querer dizer?
I'm asking you.
Estou a perguntar-vos.
What does it mean, karma?
The reaction that we make on actions.
Translate, please.
A reação que nós,
Each and every action that we make,
a reação que nós,
consciously or unconsciously,
reações que nós fazemos ou que
The action I heard,
we all make.
the action we make. That's one angle of karma. Action.
A ação é um ângulo do karma.
That's a very big topic. Another aspect of the Bhagavad Gita describes, which is a link between karma and the material energy and the Supreme Lord, is who is the actual doer in this world? What causes things to happen?
Outro tópico do Bhagavad Gita que fala sobre o karma, e a reação e a ligação com o Senhor Supremo.
So karma is one of those aspects that causes things to happen.
Karma é dos aspectos que faz as coisas acontecerem.
I remember when the Twin Towers came down maybe 20 years or more ago.
Eu lembro quando as torres gêmeas caíram há mais de 20 anos.
My brother, who is a complete agnostic,
O meu irmão, que é completo agnóstico,
has no religious interest of any kind,
não tem qualquer tipo de interesse
although
religioso.
he's not against people, but he's not interested, full stop.
Não é contra, mas não está interessado.
But I happened to be with him just at the moment, and he was watching it. I was in his room, and just at that moment the Twin Towers were coming down on the television.
Por acaso estava com
Kind of
o irmão
ironic.
que as torres gêmeas estavam.
And he said, "Oh my God, what karma."
E ele disse, oh meu Deus, que karma.
He neither believes in God nor does he believe in karma.
E ele não acredita em Deus nem em karma.
But he said, "Oh my God, what karma."
Mas ele disse, oh meu Deus, que karma.
Kind of funny. We don't believe in it, but it's a reality.
Nós não acreditamos, mas é uma realidade.
Can't deny it that every action has a reaction.
Qualquer ação tem uma reação.
So karma also means the reaction from our activity, not just the activity.
Karma também significa a reação à atividade, não só a atividade.
Of course, people try to understand this law, but it's very complex.
As pessoas tentam compreender esta lei, mas é muito complexa.
Every breath we take has a reaction. Even scientifically, they know this.
Qualquer respirar que façamos tem uma reação.
The law of cause and effect, they call it. Every atomic movement has a reaction on the whole.
A lei de causa e efeito, qualquer ação tem uma reação.
This is, in one sense, externally speaking, this is a karmic situation.
Externamente falando, isto é uma ação do karma.
Karma has other factors involved.
Karma tem outros fatores envolvidos,
It's not just action and reaction.
não é só ação e reação.
It's very connected to another aspect of the soul,
É muito está conectado com outro aspecto.
or the living entity. The difference between when we say living entity, we don't mean a material body. We mean the conscious entity or the conscious being within the material body.
Quando dizemos entidade viva, falamos do ser consciente dentro do mundo.
Now that conscious entity has some different characteristics to that which it's conscious of. Let's put it a little differently.
Okay.
The living entity is the seer.
A entidade viva é o que observa.
And what is it seeing? It's seeing the energy, the material energy.
E o que é que vê? Vê a energia material.
So there's a difference between the seer and that which is seeing.
Há uma diferença de quem está a ver e o que está a ver.
Now, we're not a completely passive seer either.
Não somos observador passivo.
The living entity has a minute quality. It's said that every single living entity has a minute quality of God.
Diz-se que a entidade viva tem uma pequena qualidade de Deus.
In the Bible, we read that man is made in the image of God.
Na Bíblia nós lemos que o homem é feito à imagem de Deus.
Now, that doesn't just refer to a physical form.
Não se refere apenas à forma física.
It refers to some of the characteristics of the living being and God.
Refere-se também às características do ser vivo e de Deus.
We have, in minute quantity, similar characteristics that God has.
Temos uma pequena quantidade de...
We can take one drop of seawater. It has the characteristics of the ocean, but it's not the ocean.
Vamos a pegar numa gota do oceano, tem as mesmas características, mas não tem a mesma quantidade.
Or one ray of the sunlight. Huh?
Raio de sol
It has some of the characteristics of the sun, but not in full.
tem algumas características do sol, mas não é...
And certainly not in the same quantity.
Certamente não é a mesma quantidade. A mesma
If it
quantidade.
did, we would be finished in a second.
Se tivesse, seríamos acabados no segundo.
But we do have some of the qualities of God.
Mas temos algumas das qualidades de Deus.
And one of those specific qualities which the soul, which we mentioned earlier, that energy of God is called Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy of God, has a little bit of what's called free will,
E dessa energia marginal de Deus tem algo
akara.
que se chama livre-arbítrio.
And we are, in this material it said we're misusing that free will,
E diz que nós estamos a usar mal este
and it becomes
livre-arbítrio.
ahankara.
Torna-se ahankara.
Ahankara means false ego.
Ahankara significa falso ego.
Akara means ego. That means our real identity.
Ahankara means ego, our
Real identity.
identity.
But ahankara, which is the nature of a conditioned soul or soul in this world, means false identity.
Ahankara significa falsa identidade.
So that's the nature of Tatastha Shakti, marginal. It can look like on a beach, you see sometimes it's under the water, sometimes it is not under the water.
Como podemos ver nas praias, por vezes está na água, por vezes não está na água.
We can be covered or not covered.
Nós podemos ficar cobertos,
We can turn towards the spiritual or the material.
nós podemos voltarmos para o espiritual.
Now, when we're in the material world, in general, the living entity is simply undergoing, experiencing the results of karma.
Normalmente, quando somos no mundo material, estamos a experienciar os resultados do karma.
Karma. I don't know, a fire engine, an ambulance, a police truck, something. But in the human form of life,
Mas na forma humana de vida,
there's a minute manifestation, we could say, of free will.
há uma minuto manifestação de livre-arbítrio.
At night, that free will is almost, sometimes it manifests, but more or less non-existent,
À noite, às vezes manifesta-se, mas normalmente
completely dormant.
está completamente dormente.
In the animal body, free will is also almost dormant.
Na vida animal, esse
Almost.
livre-arbítrio está quase dormente.
They're just following their karma.
Estão apenas a seguir o seu karma.
So where's that karma coming from?
Então, de onde é que vem esse karma?
It comes when we're in this human form of life.
Vem desta forma que
We have a minute degree of freedom.
Damos uma pequena porcentagem de liberdade.
How we relate to this material energy, the external energy, determines our future births.
A relação que temos com esta energia material determina os
Of course,
futuros.
you could say, well, if my present situation is a result of my past karma, then in one sense I don't really have any free will.
Então, podemos dizer, se a minha forma atual depende do meu karma,
I'm conditioned by my karma, my happiness, my distress, the body I've got, the way I think. Now, karma is also, another aspect of karma is aprarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means what is manifest. Aprarabdha means that which is subtle. Desires are in our subconsciousness,
A palavra significa o que está no nosso subconsciente, os desejos,
which come up or come forth in due course of time.
o que aparece com o decorrer do tempo.
They're also a result of karma.
Também são o resultado do karma.
In this world, the desires we develop are due to various associations which we've had in previous lifetimes, formulating a certain concept, a certain perception of things.
Então, neste momento, o resultado das nossas relações...
And we're born in this life. We're born in this life with these already existing concepts
E nós nascemos nesta vida já com estes
or
conceitos existentes,
tendencies.
ou tendências.
And karma goes further, then it provides, or the material energy provides situations appropriate for our particular karma.
E a energia natural continua providenciando certas situações para o nosso karma.
We're born in a certain place because of our karma.
Nascemos num certo local por causa do nosso karma.
Well, this philosophy or understanding is not there in certain paths of religion and philosophy, but this is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. It's just the law of cause and effect.
Isto não está em certas instruções.
Every effect has a cause. Nothing happens by chance.
Nada acontece por acaso.
We're not born in this life just by random chance.
Nós não nascemos nesta vida por acaso.
We're in this body from this country with this type of desire, etc. These type of experience due to our past karma.
Nós nascemos neste país com este corpo, com certos desejos por causa do nosso karma passado.
And that ultimately goes back to the individual's personal choice.
E tudo vai de encontro à decisão individual.
It goes a long way back, and it goes back there.
É muito lá atrás.
And in the human form of life, there is a chance of change.
E na forma humana de vida há uma hipótese de mudança.
How is that change evoked?
Como é que nós podemos invocar essa realização? Essa mudança?
Evoked. How does that change take place?
Como é que essa mudança toma lugar?
Any idea?
Someone who can attain moksha never get another life.
That's, of course, that's a result of, you could say, of making a choice towards change. But how does the change take place in the first place?
Essa mudança toma...
Moksha, she said, attaining moksha, but that's a result of making a change towards, the spiritual side, you could say. But how does that change take? We're conditioned by our karma. We have no remembrance of spirituality, we could say. We're in a materialistic society, brought up in a certain culture. What chance is there of change?
Então, nós não temos qualquer tendência espiritual, fomos condicionados pelo nosso karma, numa sociedade material, o que é que podemos fazer para esta mudança acontecer?
Oh, very good.
May I try to answer this?
Pardon?
May I attempt to answer this?
Well, anyone can, but put your hand up. How can the change take place?
Como é que essa mudança pode acontecer?
Performing duties, working, doing works without being affected by the results.
Well, that's related indeed, and that is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. A little bit more than that. Not just doing work,
Somente fazer trabalho,
and not just not being affected by the results.
não só não ficar afetado pelo resultado,
That's still external, that's still material.
ainda externo, material.
I think we can change by practicing the spirituality.
Then you have to find out what spirituality is.
To understand the reality of God and why we are here.
So where does that come from?
By
Becoming aware of ourselves.
Yeah, but where does it come from?
By practicing the yoga.
Practice, but any practice has to have a source. Where does it come from?
Insight or sound.
Pardon?
Introspection. Introspection.
Introspection people have been doing since time immemorial, but in of itself it's not enough. We're going along an English railway track here. Where do you get knowledge of anything from?
De onde é que recebemos conhecimento, seja do que for?
If your introspection is there, what are you looking at? You're looking at a conditioned state of consciousness.
Se a introspeção estiver lá, estamos a ver estado inconsciente.
Differences would be a desire.
A introspeção pode ser relacionada com um desejo.
A desire to find out. Okay.
Desejo de descobrir algo.
So that's one major aspect, desire.
É grande aspecto, desejar.
Now, as everything, ultimately, in one sense, everything is a result of desire.
Ultimamente, tudo é resultado do desejo.
Our being in this world,
Estar neste mundo,
our relationship with God,
a relação com Deus,
the creation of this world in the first place,
a criação deste mundo no primeiro lugar.
and our release from this world. Our release, our freedom.
E a nossa libertação deste
We
mundo.
said to use the word moksha or freedom, is a result of desire.
Isto tudo é resultado de desejo.
So desire is very significant.
O desejo é muito significativo.
It's the difference between the soul and the material energy, that free will. The living entity has desire.
É a diferença entre o material e o espiritual. O material tem desejo.
But there's still another thing too. Let's take a child.
Há outra coisa ainda. Vamos
There are children here today. We're all children, but there are some in little children's bodies. They may desire something.
Eles podem desejar algo.
How will that desire be fulfilled?
Como é que esse desejo se pode realizar?
Depending on the karma balance that we have.
Now, okay, we're going back philosophically here, but let's look in terms of day-to-day life. How will that child's desire be fulfilled? Pardon? The parents, generally speaking, or maybe the teacher or something, but somebody provides it. Somebody is there to fulfill it or not fulfill it, whatever the case may be.
Pai ou professor, mas alguém estará lá para realizar esse desejo.
But you can always find an exception, but that's the general principle. The child wants something in the shop,
Esse é o princípio.
looking in the window. Mummy, I want that toy, I want that chocolate.
A criança olha.
No, you can't have it.
A criança olha para
I
o
want
chocolate,
it.
quer o chocolate,
And
quer o-
kind of a
mas não,
back and
gosto.
forth goes on.
Mas há ali uma discussão por trás.
And maybe, but only if the parent agrees with it, unless the child tries to steal it, of course. Otherwise, only if the parents agree with the child get what it wants.
Então, somente se o pai
It's provided.
se o pai concordar, a criança recebe.
Now, another thing is, if the child never sees it in the first place, how will the child desire it?
Se a criança nunca viu no primeiro, nunca viu antes, como é que ela pode desejar?
Of course, it might be from some subconscious memory. But in general, as when the child sees things, then the desire awakens. Huh?
Sim, pode vir de uma coisa subconsciente, mas realmente.
So it's by association.
É que podemos crer.
Association is another key factor. In fact, the most key factor.
A associação é ponto-chave.
It's by association that change takes place.
É por associação que a mudança acontece.
The example is given in Bhagavad Gita of the consciousness of the individual soul.
O exemplo é dado no Bhagavad Gita.
And it's compared to the air.
Consciência individual.
Now, sometimes, I don't know, if you're in India, you know, particularly not just India, it could be anywhere, but you pass by some place where people are throwing the garbage.
Podes estar em qualquer lado e passas por um sítio onde as pessoas estão a deixar o lixo.
And generally, it doesn't smell very nice.
Normalmente não cheira muito bem.
Oh, what a horrible smell.
Que cheiro horrível.
Or a stool field.
Ou campo de esterco.
Oh my God. Sometimes you drive along the road, I don't know about here, but in some countries they use chicken manure.
Não sei quando é aqui, mas em alguns países eles usam esterco.
Horrible smell.
Cheiro
You know,
horrível.
driving your car and suddenly, whoa, oh, chicken manure, terrible smell.
andar de carro e cheiramos este
because the air has picked up that fragrance and is pervading the air. By association, the air takes on a particular fragrance.
Então, o ar está a levar esta fragrância. Por associação, ele está a transportar a si.
And now, where is that little bottle of oil? Is it with us here?
Yes.
Here?
Yes. In the green
Can you see it there? In the green bag. There's no cannabis in there, I hope. I see all these cannabis shops in Lisbon. I don't know what's going on these days. Green shops, they call them. There we go. Here I have a bottle.
Aqui tenho uma garrafa.
Take that. This is a bottle of oil.
Uma garrafa de óleo.
I'm going to open the bottle now.
Vou abrir a garrafa agora.
Krishna's giving me the strength to open it.
Krishna deu-me a força para abrir.
What a beautiful sound in the background.
São magníficos. No fundo.
And this is special oil.
Isto é óleo especial.
It comes from Lord Nrsingadev.
Vem do Lord Nrsingadev.
Don't worry, Theodore. It's okay. It's safe. And we're going to pass it around, and you're going to do like this on your hand.
Então vamos
Sim.
passá-lo e vamos fazer assim na nossa mão, passar um pouco.
It's not the best of brews, but it's not too bad. This one's not so good as the last one. Maybe it's my nose. So I'm going to pass this around now, and you can tell, you can smell, and it's supposed to be very sweet, fragrant smell. But maybe my nose is not getting it right. You see? By association with it, your senses perceive something very sweet. Association. So the consciousness picks up
Então a consciência capta
by association.
por associação.
And generally, the reawakening of our spiritual quest
Geralmente o acordar do nosso percurso
is a
espiritual
continuation. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's usually a continuation from a previous lifetime,
Bhagavad Gita, no Krishna diz no Bhagavad Gita, normalmente é uma continuação.
and which will be reawoken in this lifetime by association.
Pode ser desperta nesta vida por associação.
Krishna will, the material energy, Krishna uses the energy to bring us into contact with that which we were already involved in.
Então Krishna usa a energia
From a previous life.
para ficar envolvidos com coisas que já conhecemos.
Bring us in contact with those who are on the spiritual path.
Contacto com aqueles que estão no caminho espiritual.
Whatever level we left off in our last life, Nehe Bikramo Nashosti, it is never lost. We continue in our next lifetime if we don't get liberation in this one.
Independentemente do nível em que ficámos ali na vida anterior, nós continuamos no mesmo nível.
Born in a situation, and that will provide us then to go further.
Nascemos numa situação que nos permite.
Karma goes up and down, up and down, up and down like this.
Karma vai para cima e para baixo, assim.
You do good things, you get a good result, then you go back down, you do bad things, up and down you go.
Fazes coisas boas, obtens bons resultados, fazes coisas más.
But on the spiritual path, every little endeavor is never lost.
Mas no mundo espiritual, qualquer pequeno esforço não é perdido.
And even if in this life, but in the next life we take up where we left off in the last life.
Mesmo se fizermos nesta vida, na próxima, seguimos onde tínhamos parado.
And by association that will be evoked, or awoken, awoken. So it's mainly by association in the beginning to, let's say, cause that desire to awaken in the first place, and then to develop that desire in the right direction.
No início, por associação, faz esse desejo de despertar e depois crescer.
So by association, it's called Agyata Sukriti.
Então, por associação, acontece.
In the beginning, that means unknowing good fortune.
Então, no início, chama-se fortuna.
Just like we give an example. Last night, the devotees went on the street in Lisbon, chanting Hare Krishna up and down the streets of Lisbon.
Como ontem, os devotos saíram às ruas a cantar o mantra.
And everybody who hears it gets a little teeny weeny drop of spiritual injection.
Então quem o ouve ou tem uma pequena gota de
Are you leaving?
nome espiritual.
Why?
Algarve,
What's that?
because she lives in Algarve,
Algarve.
in south of Portugal.
Well, you're a long way to go. It's in the south of Portugal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Make sure she gets prasadam. Please make sure you get prasadam. Prasad. Long drive.
I will try.
Sundrananda, make sure she gets prasad. Or Rita, somebody, whoever's there.
Yeah. It's a
Don't-
big area.
Make sure they get a takeaway. So that little first contact has a permanent effect.
Este pequeno contacto tem um efeito permanente.
The result of that is they'll get more and more and more.
O resultado é que eles terão mais
Called
impacto.
Sadhu Sangha, association with devotees.
Chama-se associação com devotos. Chama-se
The desire of the devotee is that everyone get this chance to reawaken their relationship with Krishna.
O desejo do devoto é que toda a gente desperte esta relação com Krishna.
So they want to give that freely to everyone.
Eles querem dar isto livremente a todos.
Person wants or doesn't want. This movement is meant for everyone.
A pessoa quer ou não quer, este movimento é feito para toda a gente.
It's also the desire of the Lord that we all go back to Godhead.
É também o desejo de Deus que voltemos a...
Let's give an example. Say, for instance, a very unfortunate situation where you lose your child.
Então, por exemplo, esta situação em que perdemos a nossa criança.
What will satisfy you?
O que é que nos satisfazia?
Nothing else. Only if your child is returned, right?
Nada
You will
nos
not be
satisfazia.
satisfied by anything else on the planet. Only if your child is returned.
Nada poderia satisfazer, a não ser se o teu filho te
It's natural. We are all children of God.
Somos todos filhos de Deus.
We all come from Him.
Todos
We have
somos-
chosen our free will to, let's say, turn our face away from devotion to Him.
E nós escolhemos voltar a nossa cara para...
We have chosen to see ourselves in the center. We are responsible.
Nós escolhemos ser nós o centro. Nós somos os...
It's our choice. We have that free will, freedom.
É a nossa liberdade. É a nossa
And
liberdade.
just for a short while, we've chosen to, let's say, see ourselves in the center as the enjoyer.
Então, só por um tempo nós escolhemos ser nós o centro e ser o...
We see the world in relationship to me.
Vejo o mundo em relação a mim.
Well, Krishna consciousness is the process of gradually seeing this world in relationship with Krishna.
A consciência de Krishna é ver gradualmente este mundo em relação com Krishna.
Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to do that,
Bhagavad Gita ensina-nos a como fazer isto.
how to utilize this human form of life in relationship with Krishna, not just ourselves,
Como utilizar esta forma de vida humana em relação com Krishna.
not just to perform our work, which is according to our karma, no,
Não apenas para realizar
not
o
just to be
trabalho
detached,
de acordo
what does
com
that
o
mean?
karma, ou seja,
Not even to attain moksha.
nem sequer-
That's all self-centered, that's all me in the center.
nem isso.
I am detached, I am working, I am liberated. No. This is not
Eu sou o centro.
perfection.
Isto não é perfeição.
Perfection is to actually understand how everything is connected and how everything is meant to be related to Krishna or the Supreme Lord.
Então, ultimamente é para podermos perceber que tudo está relacionado com Deus.
And that's when the soul is completely fulfilled in its existence.
E é só assim que a alma está completamente satisfeita na sua totalidade.
That choice, or that opportunity is given by the right association and the right direction.
Isso acontece quando nós obtemos a associação correta.
We just have to take advantage of it, that's all.
Só temos de aproveitar essa
So all this and much more is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you have a copy, great, read it, try to understand it, put it into practice.
Então, se tiverem uma cópia do Bhagavad Gita, tudo isto está aqui escrito.
Don't just lick on the bottle.
Terem provado.
I did that yesterday, didn't I? Give me that bottle. Now I can just, but I won't get any better. Of course, we don't want to drink the oil either, but imagine it was a bottle of honey. Honey, sweet honey.
Imagina que é uma garrafa de
And you just lick on the bottle.
mel.
Read what it says on the outside. Honey is very sweet. Honey comes from bees.
Mel
good for your health.
Vem das abelhas, é
You won't do anything.
Não faz nada.
You've got to open it and take the honey.
Temos de abrir e tomar mel.
And that's Krishna's giving us in Bhagavad Gita. Open it.
Isso é Krishna nos dar o Bhagavad
Read.
Gita. Tem de ouvir, tem de ler.
I've opened it here. I haven't opened it here what I want yet. When I reach what I want, I'll tell you. Here we are. Okay. This is the Bhagavad Gita text number, what's this, 35, 36, 37. Yes. 38. Listen to this.
Bhagavad Gita, verso 30,
Fourth chapter.
quarto capítulo.
In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge.
O português.
You can translate it. In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge.
Neste mundo não há nada mais sublime e puro que o conhecimento transcendental.
Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism.
Tal conhecimento é o fruto maduro de todo o misticismo.
And when one has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service, one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service,
Quando nós ficamos estabelecidos na prática de serviço devocional,
enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time.
desfruta deste conhecimento dentro de si no recorrer do tempo.
That wasn't the verse I was looking for, but it was a good verse. I don't know if they've changed the translation or what. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, it's explained here in this section that one who applies himself to this knowledge is called Gyan, practical knowledge.
Knowledge, conhecimento significa conhecimento.
One who applies himself to this knowledge, puts it into practice, realizes this knowledge in due course of time.
Quem põe este conhecimento em prática realiza-o lá no recorrer do tempo.
And herein lies the secret. We have to know how to put this knowledge into practice according to our situation, according to time, place and circumstance.
Temos de saber como ter este conhecimento em prática de acordo com o local, tempo e circunstância.
And this is explained in Bhagavad
Isto é
Gita.
explicado no Bhagavad Gita.
And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you learn this science by approaching a self-realized soul.
E Krishna diz no Bhagavad Gita, nós obtemos este conhecimento.
Inquire, render service.
Nos aproximarmos de uma alma.
The Lord within the heart, Tesham Satata Yuktanam, gives the understanding to the sincere soul how we can progress back to Godhead.
O Senhor, Deus dentro do coração, dá-nos o conhecimento como voltar a
How we can awaken our dormant love of God.
como podemos acordar o amor dormente por Deus.
Well, it's 6 o'clock, and now you have your RT, I suppose. Is that what happens at 6? Hare Krishna. I was going to talk about a very special event today, but circumstances changed.
Maharaj ia falar sobre um evento particular hoje, mas as circunstâncias mudaram.
We were going to talk about a very holy place in India called Radhakund.
Íamos falar sobre um lugar muito sagrado em India.
And indirectly we did. The real essence of this holy place is the eligibility to understand and enter into it.
Então, de certa forma, nós falámos porque este lugar, de certa forma, é para nós percebermos como é que podemos chegar a este local.
So Bhagavad Gita gives us the process of becoming eligible to enter into that spiritual realm.
Então, o Bhagavad Gita dá-nos o conhecimento de como obter este.
We have to become free of all attachment and detachment in this world. Not just detached, but we have to become free of attachment. We also have to become free of detachment.
Então nós não temos de ficar só libertarmos do apego, mas também do desapego.
Spiritual life means to be real. Spiritual life means to become attached to Krishna.
A verdadeira espiritualidade significa ficar apegado a Cristo.
This material energy is not ours to be attached to or detached from.
Esta energia material não é nossa para ficarmos apegados ou desapegados.
And the process of Krishna, particularly the chanting of the holy name, changes our perception.
E particularmente o processo de cantar o Santo
And we
Nome
no longer just see this material world in relationship to us, but we see it in relationship to the Supreme Person.
Nós deixamos de ver este mundo em relação connosco, mas começamos a vê-lo.
And we see every living entity, just in the previous verse, as the part and parcel of the supreme whole. We see the relationship of every living entity with God.
Nós começamos a ver a relação de toda a entidade viva com Deus.
And the realized soul acts to try to release the conditioned souls from their illusion or their false ego.
Tentamos também libertar as almas condicionadas do seu falso ego.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. We may talk about Radha Kund tomorrow morning since we never finished the topic we started this morning with history and effects.